Welcome back, Pack, and welcome back for another fantasy football mock draft video. This time coming in at pick number 5. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. Also, tell me who your favorite fantasy football value is. I want to know whether it's in the late rounds of the double digits or somewhere like 7, 8, 9. You're finding a steal on a player on a price that you really like. Leave that in a comment down below. Let me know who your favorite value of this season is, and maybe we'll try and incorporate that into the future drafts. Of course, we still got 5 more to work with after this. I just recorded basically half of the draft and didn't actually record it. So we're back here starting from scratch. Same setup though. I am going to go with Cooper Kupp as my starting wide receiver there for Los Angeles. He's an insane upside. He had double-digit touchdowns with Jared Goff. He obviously can keep that tremendous season with Matthew Stafford. He'll regress, of course, a little bit, especially with Allen Robinson as that wide receiver too. That alleviates some pressure from Cooper Kupp, but also gives him some potential to have even more shining plays. And he's maybe going to be lining up in the slot again. And he just he's a big guy for the slot position. He's 6'2". He's going to dominate linebackers, and Cooper Kupp's going to be my choice here. It's between him and Justin Jefferson for me at that pick personally. I think Jamar Chase is going a little too high for my liking, so I'm not a Jamar Chase truther. I'd much rather have even Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs over Jamar Chase, but that's just me personally. I love Joe Burrow, but the Cincinnati offense still scares me a little bit. So just because there's so many receivers that are good in that offense, Jamar Chase obviously has that rapport with his LSU former teammate quarterback Joe Burrow, but I'm going to stay away from him for now. And obviously he doesn't get back to us, so it doesn't matter. Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon starts the second. Then we have Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, and DeAndre Swift. And over to us for our second round pick. You guys know me. I am a huge fan of going for a 2 running back out of 3 round kind of setup. It's something we could see ourselves here. I mean, looking at the overall draft board, there are plenty of receivers I love. I might want to consider Deebo Samuel here, but then our running back room could be kind of mysterious, even though we'll have 2 great receivers. I don't really like a 4th round running back. It's going to be somebody like Travis Etienne or Breece Hall or Josh Jacobs, where you're not too happy for your running back too to be one of those players. So I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to take a running back here. Nick Chubb is great. The Cleveland offense is what I'm worried about though. So I'm going to go for Alvin Kamara here. Nick Chubb could still have a fantastic season. As an NFL player, he is an amazing running back and he's extremely good, but he doesn't catch passes. And in a PPR league, it's kind of the main concern for me as for running back position, when I could get someone like Kamara, who I know could have similar rushing stat line as Nick Chubb, but could have 50 more receptions. That is a huge deal breaker in points that Kamara is going to have overall. So I'm going to take Kamara there, reach up a little bit, but then goes CeeDee Lamb, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Deebo Samuel, Josh Allen in the 3rd round. The first quarterback off the board, Tyreek Hill, Javonte Williams, Mark Andrews, and then back to us in round 3. And there's still some great names here. I mean, there's some incredible wide receiver value. Mike Evans, Keenan Allen. You can even go to Michael Pittman there as kind of reaching down in these picks. But Leonard Fournette is by far the easiest choice for me here. He's going to be a workhorse for Tampa Bay in a great offense. And I love locking in 2 running backs that I know I'm pretty much not going to have to replace for most of the season. So I'm totally okay with them. Barring Kamara doesn't get a suspension, which at this point I think they've kind of waved off. And after Leonard Fournette goes Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Ezekiel Elliott, A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts, Cam Akers, James Conner, Patty Mahomes, T. Higgins, and Darren Waller. So, this is what I was talking about. I am just not a fan of probably all the way down to A.J. Dillon. I just don't want those running backs, personally. I just don't think there's much value in them. David Montgomery is a great player, but he's on a terrible offense, and I just don't know how they'll use him. He's in a new coaching system. Matt Nagy loved him, but obviously we might not see the same setup. And Khalil Herbert still had some great flashes last season, so there could be an example or an area to which we might see David Montgomery split some time, and that's a little bit concerning. And, you know, for the pick before us, Darren Waller, I wanted to mention, just left his agent recently. I mean, it's kind of big news, but it hasn't practiced since July. I would stay completely away from Darren Waller personally. Obviously, Devontae Adams comes in, he's going to take a heap load of targets. Hunter Renfrow is absolutely incredible. If you saw the clip on Twitter, I think it was Derwin James mentioning that Hunter Renfrow is one of the best receivers he's ever gone up against. As far as the eliteness, he thinks he's in the top 5 receivers. He puts Hunter Renfrow in that list. So if you can't get Devontae Adams, you can get Hunter Renfrow later in your drafts and just get past Darren Waller completely and go for a different tight end, because I don't think Darren Waller's going to have similar usage, especially not being a top 4 tight end usage for this season with a target like Devontae Adams. We already know Derek Carr and Devontae Adams love each other, so it's going to show on the field for sure. And back to us on the 4th round pick. So we have George Kittle still up as an option if we want another tight end. And I love the option still at receiver. I'm okay with getting any of those guys, so I'm going to go with George Kittle here. I'm going to try a different strategy, try and go for a tight end a little bit earlier in the draft. Quarterback still might go a little bit later for me. We lost DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, 2 of the guys I was definitely looking for to try and take right here. So now we have a tough decision to make as we go into the 5th round. Travis Etienne and Gibson go as well. Breece Hall, of course, still on the board. If you want some upside as your wide receiver or your running back 3, that is an option you can take. But then we go over to wide receivers, and Courtland Sutton, Mike Williams staring at me in the face personally. I believe those guys have a lot of value here in this position. Deontay Johnson was decent enough for me last year. I had him in one of my picks. Obviously, for PPR, it was great. He had 100 receptions, 8 touchdowns. But the thing I'm worried about is the quarterback play. Mitch Trubisky is iffy. Kenny Pickett might come in halfway through the season. We don't know exactly how he'll play at an NFL level consistently. So I'm a little bit more worried about Deontay Johnson than most probably. So I'm going to go for Courtland Sutton here. I believe in the Denver offense, and I believe in Russell Wilson personally, that Courtland Sutton is his #1 target. And I don't think it's close. I don't think Jerry Jeudy's actually in contention for that wide receiver 1 spot. I think it's definitely Courtland Sutton, and Russell Wilson and him have shown a lot of rapport with one another throughout training camp and the preseason. So I wholeheartedly believe Courtland Sutton's a steal in the 5th round as my wide receiver 2. And a lot of wide receivers just went off the board. DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, goes Josh Jacob, Breece Hall, Lamar Jackson going in the 5th round here. Joe Burrow quickly after him. But Jared Jeudy, Dalton Schultz, Mike Williams, and Amari Cooper fall to us now at the 6th round pick, middle of the 6th. I'm not going with either of these constantly injured running backs. I will pass completely on them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I believe, too long for him to do anything for me this season. So if I would go for a running back here, it would probably be A.J. Dillon. Miles Sanders is in the mix, but he's in a triple-headed backfield basically in Philadelphia. Even though he's absolutely fantastic and he runs for over 5 a carry for 2 consistent seasons, they just love Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott for some reason. So you never know what the Eagles will consider for Miles Sanders, but if he is a starter and he gets a decent amount of touches per game, he's going to be a great pick in the 6th or 7th round and will be a consistent running back 2, running back 3 potentially, or flex position. So Miles Sanders, definitely keep an eye out. Potentially make a trade. If you start to see him get a little bit more touches early in the season, maybe make a trade for him. Try and get in on that action because Philadelphia still has the best offensive line in football, I believe, from PFF. So that is a great running scheme to have there. And Jalen Hurts, of course, is going to be great. I'm looking to try and get Jalen Hurts potentially in the next round. We know only 2 teams in front of us could take a quarterback. So Kyler Hurts and Jalen Hurts could be in the mix there. I think that's fine if they both go because I'll still have Russell Wilson and the stack with Courtland Sutton, so I'm not too mad about that. 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 running backs is what we got overall. So let's look at the overall draft board to make a decision. And like I said, I just don't think there is enough value at the running back position right now in this kind of dead zone of running backs, so I'm going to go for another receiver here. I'd love Allen Robinson, but I don't really want to stack up with the Los Angeles offense. You know, it'd be maybe better if it was a running back and receiver, but having 2 receivers on the same team gets a little bit sketchy. I did have someone finish 2nd in a expensive league last year, getting both of the Minnesota players, the receivers, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. I would say maybe Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson could be in a similar category of 2 receivers that could get a lot of value in both positions. So that could be a consideration here to get Allen Robinson and maybe just go with 2 Los Angeles receivers. But for your sake, I'm going to not double up just because it might not be realistic for what might happen in your draft. Here, I think I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks, though, as a very consistent wide receiver option. If Courtland Sutton is not the one and it's just not hitting during the season with Russell Wilson, then that's fine. We can play Brandon Cooks. We know he's going to get a consistent floor, and he's going to get 1,000 yards this season. We know that is something Brandon Cooks has done very successfully, even on bad teams. So I trust in Brandon Cooks, trust in the process. Kyler Murray goes after as the only quarterback to go, so we still have some options there. Jalen Hurts stares us back. But J.K. Dobbins, Michael Thomas, T.J. Hawkinson, Elijah Mitchell, Marquise Brown, Chris Godwin, and Allen Robinson go. So now it is back to us. 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. I think I might just go with Jalen Hurts here. It is insane value in the middle of the 7th. Russell Wilson goes right after, so that probably would have been Jalen Hurts. And now almost everybody in the league has a quarterback, so that is something we don't have to worry about for the rest of the draft. Of course, we already got ours locked down. And now back to us in the 8th. As Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, 2 quarterbacks go. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damian Harris, A.J. Dillon, Kareem Hunt. So some decent value running backs there that I really would have preferred at this 8th spot position. And Adam Thielen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juju, Rashad Bateman. I would say 4 receivers I'd be pretty interested in. If Juju didn't have this kind of injury issue, I think Juju would be a pretty good value pick on the Kansas City offense as the 1. And it looks like, I mean, this is good news, of course, that Juju Smith-Schuster gets an amended contract. That means, you know, they're dedicated to Juju, and he's probably dedicated to the team. And we know that he's going to enjoy his time with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and getting a potential wide receiver 1 for Kansas City in the 8th round, it's pretty good value. So I'd take that every single time. But now we have a choice to make. We can go for our 3rd running back here and go with someone like Miles Sanders, who I was hyping up. If he's great, he will be absolutely fantastic. And he's a great runner. He's a good pass catcher. We just don't know if he'll fill those roles. So that's the only worry. You could go with someone like DeAndre Hopkins, who, you know, we have 3 receivers already that could start for us. That means we can leave DeAndre Hopkins on our bench. Having receivers early gives us that opportunity to take someone like Michael Thomas, take someone like DeAndre Hopkins later in the draft, because we can leave them on our bench until they're healthy or until they're back, which gives us time to maybe get a wide receiver 1 in the future for a cheap cost. So that's someone I can keep my eye out for. Gabriel Davis and Hunter Renfrow both climbing the ranks, it seems like. Of course, after the hype, Gabriel Davis in the fantasy community has gotten a lot of hype, so his ADP has gone up tremendously. He used to be a 10th round pick on Sleeper. Now he's inching up to the 8th. And Hunter Renfrow, I think, used to be double digits as well, and he's coming back. And I already talked about his level of skill, his level of play. Obviously, 100 receptions. He's not going to repeat that this season with Devontae Adams. But he could take away from Darren Waller and could still have a similarly successful season. So it could be a territory where you could take wide receiver 2s now. This is kind of that area. Gabriel Davis, wide receiver 2. I mean, most of these players are going to be wide receiver 2s, besides Darnell Mooney, who is going to be that wide receiver 1. And while Justin Fields won't have a great offensive line, Darnell Mooney could still be a fantastic choice. And it is between Darnell Mooney and a running back here, personally, for myself. I think we'll be okay on running back. I love Chase Edmonds, so I'd be okay with getting him in the next round. Someone like Devin Singletary or James Cook. Of course, they're going to be splitting time in Buffalo, but I would be okay with that as my 3rd running back coming back to us. So I'm going to take Darnell Mooney here, going for that consistency, like I said, in just 4 great receivers that are going to be wide receiver 1s for their team. This gives us a lot of options every week, and we could play matchups especially. And if Chicago looks better, Darnell Mooney could be a great steal and a great start for your late rounds in the draft. Then goes Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins, Gabriel Davis did not follow to us. Kenneth Walker, Drake London, Tony Pollard, Dallas Goedert, and Hunter Renfrow do go. So unfortunately, Miles Sanders went right after us. That was someone I was indicating on trying to take, but I'm going to, without a doubt, I'm going to take Chase Edmonds here. The wide receivers sitting there are like wide receiver 2s, maybe not the greatest. Elijah Moore could be great if Zach Wilson finds his rhythm this year. But Chase Edmonds, I've hyped him up an incredible amount. You've heard what I've talked about in the season. I mean, they're trying to change Gesicki into a blocking tight end, maybe even trading him. Chase Edmonds could get even more work behind the line with Tua's terrible offensive line. And Chase Edmonds loves Mike McDaniel's scheme and the zone run offense. It's why he chose Miami, even getting better offers for different teams. So Chase Edmonds loves the team and the team loves him. So I think that's exactly what I want. A potential starting running back in the 9th round with great value. And as our 3rd running back, I think that's totally fine to have that as our backup option, because we know we're not taking either one of these guys out week by week. They're star players and will be able to get us the points we needed for the position we're drafting them at. So I'm okay with that. Devontae Smith, Zach Ertz, Cordell Patterson, Rashad Penny, Treylon Burks, Alan Lazard, Elijah Moore. Okay, Alan Lazard's another important player that I've been talking about lately. He might be going up as well. I mean, he is the #1 target for Aaron Rodgers. People got to remember, like, Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback, his #1 receiver is going in the 10th round. You should always, always, always try and get Alan Lazard in one of these later picks if you can. I would highly suggest it. He's going to have his floor is going to be great. I mean, like, probably like 80, 90 receptions is his floor, because there's no one else in Green Bay that Aaron Rodgers is going to find, because he hates rookies. There's no way he's hitting Romeo Doubs consistently on a weekly basis. Just not going to happen. So Alan Lazard is definitely the player to choose in that offense as far as wide receivers go. But then Elijah Moore, Devin Singletary, Chris Olave, and Brandon Ayuk. Now back to us on our pick. We already have a quarterback, already have a tight end, and I'm loving the way our draft is panning out so far. We got 3 more picks. We have 4 receivers, 3 running backs. Now is the time to maybe take some flyers. Look at the options around us. Wide receiver, you know, there's some safe options potentially in Robert Woods. I don't think Tyler Lockett is necessarily a safe option because of the terrible quarterback play in Seattle, and I'm just not a fan of their wide receivers sitting there. So I'm going to go for the upside in James Cook. He could be the starter for Buffalo. Obviously, that's why him and Singletary are so closely related in fantasy ADP. It is something that both of these players have to worry about, is the kind of split workload that they're going to see. Devin Singletary is still a great runner, and he's still technically considered the lead runner for Buffalo. So you're taking James Cook as a rookie running back flyer, hoping he develops a great spot, maybe as a pass catcher in the Buffalo offense with Josh Allen. It's a great offense as long as Zach Moss doesn't just take all the goal line work away, which is a opportunity that could happen. But I like James Cook here. Get a fourth running back that we'd never have to play unless he starts to shine, because we have 3 other running backs that we're okay with. So definitely okay with that. Now we're going to the later rounds. The last 2 picks here as quarterbacks and tight ends start to fly off. We're just looking for some value, or looking for some fun picks that could be very good for our team in the later stages if something happens or if they find their light. Now, Kadarius Toney is a player I've been kind of hyping up, and he when he's on the field looks incredible. Like elite level talent. His everything, his athleticism is just insane. But it's if he's healthy, and that's the uncertain thing. Is this is right here, uncertain for the preseason's finale. He's had a lot of different injuries to his body over the last year, so it's a weird spot to try and take Kadarius Toney. He might be one of the players that just makes it to waivers. If not, someone's going to reach for him, and he's not going to be healthy, and they're going to have just a receiver sitting on their bench. And we already have 2 receivers sitting on our bench right now, so we're going to go and split the mix here, potentially between running back and wide receiver, trying to find a decent spot. There's a lot of wide receivers that you can still take flyers on. Same with running backs. But for me, it's between Dameon Pierce, who could be a starter for the Houston Texans, and Ramondre Stevenson, who potentially, they said they want to have him as a pass catcher. You can see right there as a James White role. They want to try and get Ramondre Stevenson that involved with the team. And we know New England, when James White was that pass catching running back, he was good enough by himself catching passes that he would be a weekly starter. So that's someone you can consider. But I'm going to go for Dameon Pierce here. I'm sure you've heard enough about his upside in the fantasy community. A starting potential running back for the Houston Texans in the 11th round. He was very underutilized in college. Coming in with a low workload means he's going to have a lot of opportunity potentially in the NFL, and they'll try and run him a lot, I assume, in that not great Houston offense. So that's something I love there, is that value. I'll take Dameon Pierce every time. Then we fall around back to us once again for our pick, and this is going to go for a wide receiver. We'll have 5 running backs, 5 receivers, totally fine with me. Looking for value or just a good receiver, rookie receiver here. Now we have our decision to make for our last pick of the draft. This could be someone you take like a flyer, like Julio Jones. Could be a great option in that Tampa Bay offense. If Chris Godwin isn't healthy, Julio Jones will be that second option, and he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Julio Jones will be incredible with a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best to ever do it with Tom Brady. So that could be insane value here. I'm also kind of considering between Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Sky Moore. Sky Moore is a bit more of the upside choice in the Kansas City offense. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is kind of your safer option as far as a wide receiver 2 goes. Maybe if Juju is out for a little bit of the season, then he could be your wide receiver 1. So I'm going to consider the upside and consider the safeness. And we have a lot of safeness on our team already. So I'm going to go with Sky Moore, go for the upside. If he cements himself into the best offense in football, that'd be pretty nice to have. So this is our team as it stands. At quarterback, Jalen Hurts. At wide receiver, we have Cooper Kupp and Cortland Sutton as our starters. Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, and Sky Moore as our bench spots. Running backs, we have Alvin Kamara and Leonard Fournette, with the bench options of Chase Edmonds, James Cook, and Dameon Pierce. You're probably seeing the pattern there at the end for the running backs. It's just where I see fit value at the end of drafts, and I don't like that dead zone of running backs all the way from David Montgomery down to probably someone like Miles Sanders. There's just not a lot of great options there, in my opinion. I probably did more so to like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because Damian Harris, AJ Dillon, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, all good options I think at running back. But I'm not a fan of the 4th to 7th round running backs. They just probably won't have a good hit value for you. So those are my running backs. Let me know what you would have done differently. Also, like I said at the beginning of the video, let me know who your favorite 2022 fantasy value is this season. Whether it's in the late rounds, whether it's in the early rounds, wherever you like that ADP for that perfect player in your team. Let me know down below. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. See you next video for Team 6.